woodlot business, you definitely have to have a wide sort of skill set, or at least develop a wide skill set that you may or may not already have. I think that the type of harvesting that we end up doing quite a bit on woodlot licenses and for woodlot licensees lends itself a lot to doing more sort of alternative harvesting and taking a different approach to forestry. Just because we've been able to do things slower and not been under the gun for production so much, we have the opportunity to look at the forest differently and look at forest health issues. Yeah, one of the most interesting things about being a woodlot licensee is that you wear so many different hats throughout the course of doing business, and you get to learn so much about the forest. You're never just a logger or a planter or a planner or a silviculturalist. You have to do a little bit of everything, and you have to learn human skills because you're constantly dealing with people in government and industry and the local community and any other stakeholders on the land. So you end up being really diverse.
Nestled in the heartland of British Columbia, known as Caribou Country, lies the little town of Likely, and one of its citizens is Creo Dufour. As a child of the forest, Creo grew up in a rustic setting. His father, Lorne, who has been logging with horses for the past 30-plus years, planted a seed in Creo that matured into a full-grown forester. But Creo had to explore his other passions in snowboarding and as a professional in skateboarding. But it was his earlier rooted life that brought him back to his first passion. After 30 years in the logging and woodlot operation, Lorne Dufour has passed on the forestry baton, and as a true patriot of the forest, Creo has gladly accepted it.
You know, I think the culture that allows people to survive, thrive, adapt, you know, and stay with what they love is having, you know, good deep roots in the business and the industry. Love of the forest and love of making the relationship with the land and the people who work the land a positive one. Lorne and I go back to university days when he was studying literature and I was studying politics. We stayed in the same residence. And after that, we kept up our friendship, and Lorne did some work up in this area, and we stayed in touch. And then he became a full-time horse logger, and we still stayed in touch. And what's really exciting to me is that the next generation growing up in it are great loggers. You know, there's no problem recommending Creole and his brother as loggers. They're great. They know it. They know the woods and they care about the woods.
In high school, I guess, was when we met. But we didn't actually start seeing each other till well after that. We became friends. I was good friends with his sister for years and got to know his family, and we did our own thing. I went traveling and eventually just kind of made that connection that we did have a lot in common with what we've done, but also what we want to do. So.
There's some history, and I think that's really important, that there is some history, and also the fact that I know that Creo cares about where his wood goes, and is interested that somebody is doing something value added, and you know, that plays a big part in what we set out to do, is to create a sustainable business in a rural area to support our families. And so this is one of the ways you do it, is long-term relationships with local friends and others. So.
Good. Yeah, we gotta put some of this stuff under his chin and stuff. Well, about 1976, my wife and I bought a team of horses and decided to see if we could make our living logging then with the horses.
This guy is still in training a little bit. He's not as cooperative with his bridle yet. He doesn't put his head down for us yet.
But he just doesn't want to.
The bridle is getting better.
Oh, he's getting better.
At least he's not going up in the air or anything.
We used to have a little sleigh set up with a little log cabin with a little stove inside it for the winter times for going to work. And we could sit inside the little sleigh at lunch or on the way there just to stay warm when it was really cold.
We're going to buck it off right there.
Yeah.
And then he's going to take it down to 8-inch top, which would be about 35 feet or something. And then we're going to bring the horses down and we're going to pull it up this way and just leave it beside the road here on the left-hand side.
Yeah, we're very fortunate, I think, in a lot of ways. It is tough sometimes, for sure, mostly financially, but there's not too many places like this on the planet anymore that are available to a young couple. It's, you know, like normally it's something you inherit or you go so much into debt that you'll never see the light at the end of the tunnel. And there's a light for us.
Step over.
Oh. I guess I got involved in logging because I had grown up around it and I had done it as a summer job and had been raised really steeped in the business of select logging with the horses and also with our neighbor with his little skidder. And I went on after high school and did a few other things, did some other jobs and this and that, but I really enjoyed working in the woods and being in nature, and also really like the idea with small-scale forestry where you can do things a little differently. Hearing people protest logging and stuff and still using wood products I always found hypocritical and always knew that there was a better way to do things, and that has really been kind of a rewarding and captivating part of doing forestry work in this way, doing small-scale, minimal impact logging.
I think that's half the battle of starting something like a timber framing business. Apparently, one of the two major reasons that small timber frame companies go out of business, one of the reasons is fiber supply. And so we already felt that that was an advantage because we live in some of the best timber wood in the country, and already know people like Creole. So we felt that was an advantage for sure. I think that there's a certain level of professionalism there that we appreciate. We know when things are coming. We'll get the phone calls. We know nothing's being done haywire. Everything will be done right, and that's one thing we really count on.
I think that the local community knows us quite well, and the forest industry locally, just about everybody knows of us. And people know the Woodlot too. People recreate on it. There's Cusson Lake Resort is sort of on the edge of it, and people drive through it regularly, and we often hear about it. People don't even realize that we've actually logged any of it from the roadside. Dad and I work together, and we have for years. We get a lot done when we work together, but we definitely have very different personalities and approaches to working. I'm calm and he's kind of wired. And it's okay, it balances us out a little bit, but
We get things done anyways.
yeah, it's not always easy.
No.
But
You don't like working with your dad, eh? Too
oh,
much?
I like working with you, just
Oh,
not
that's
every day, day after day.
No, no.
Just like he doesn't like
Yeah, I
working with
wonder
me
why.
day after day.
Oh.
It's kind of like working with a wasp nest every day.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't try and force the kids into anything. You know, we just thought whatever. If they had decided to become airline pilots or whatever they wanted to do, we didn't care. You know, as long as they were fairly happy. And but you know, we raised them in the woods all their lives. They were in the back in the bush. You know, so they kind of really liked it. Eh? It was natural that they'd end up staying more or less in the bush. You know, because they like it. They feel at home in it. You know.
Yeah, I definitely traveled around, spent some time in larger urban centers all around the world, really, and found that I preferred to be in the forest and sort of in the rural landscape much more than being in the cities. But mom and dad definitely, they actually tried to talk me out of that sort of lifestyle and for logging and working that hard for a living in a business that has been so uncertain. They did their best to convince me not to.
Yeah, work so hard. Yeah, we're hoping they'd find something that wasn't hard work, you know. But they didn't. They end up stuck in the bush like us guys, you know.
I am proud of the way Creel does do his logging, and because I know he takes a lot of pride in it too, and it's nice to see a job well done in a place where you can still walk through the trees and hardly even notice that it's been logged, but know that you're still making your living from that forest, which is still a living forest.
Creel has been my teacher basically. He taught me how to snowboard. He taught me all kinds of things. Eh?
How to
So-
file your chainsaw.
How to file my chainsaw, you know, after, you know, about 50 years, I still don't file it very good. So he straightens me out every once in a while, make sure I'm doing it right, which I do then, you know, I do it carefully again, and I get it done right. Usually in a hurry to get it done, you know. Anyway, so, no, I don't really have any words. I just tell him to stay straight, you know, keep his deal straight, and be proud of what he's done, and that's all that really matters, you know. Let his pride stay alive, you know. Don't do something that you gotta walk away from feeling ashamed, you know. And he won't. I don't think he ever will, so.
As we're in recovery mode from the pine beetle, more and more of my business and a lot of other people's business has been value added, and that's sort of what we're trying to nurture economically, because we're going to have lower volumes of wood to harvest, so we've got to do more with it to make it count and to get the value out of it. So I end up selling quite a bit of wood to timber framers and log home builders and to small manufacturers. And I think that's going to be more of the future for us locally and probably throughout the province. And I think that if we're careful about doing it, we can actually get quite a few more jobs and also look at sustainability within the forest industry in a whole new way, where jobs won't be so boom and bust. We won't be so dependent on the really large cut. Things might be a little bit slower, but it'll be more consistent, and I think overall that builds for more stable rural economies and provide more of sort of a chance for there to be a culture of craftsmanship within the province as more people get into crafting homes and buildings and structures out of our really nice wood products.
wagon out of the way. Then walk them back to the
Oh yeah, what is that?